I kind of cut my brother out of my life because it was one of the times I was trying to get my life back in order. One of the 3 times that I built my life up just to burn it back down again. But I knew that I couldn't have people in my life that were using, because it's hard enough to not use yourself, let alone be surrounded with people that you care about that are using in front of you.
Hey everyone, I would like to welcome you to another episode of Coffee with Kuda. I'm your host and my name is Kuda Mabiza. I'm excited to be introducing you today to our next guest, and his name is Nick. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm excited to be sitting here with you. Thank you for meeting me a couple of days ago, just to go over a couple of things. Your story is incredible for someone who's just so open about his challenges and what you have accomplished to where you are now. Like, I cannot wait for everyone to just listen and indulge into your upbringing and how you became who you are and how you have conquered it, and your story today with your fiance. You know, it's exciting, right? So to start with, how are you doing?
Today I'm doing really well. It wasn't always like that.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to be comfortable in my skin,
Right.
and to be comfortable with who I am today. And took about 21 years for me to make the decision to ask for help.
Really? Yeah.
Which is, in a lot of respects, I think the most difficult thing anyone can do when they're in active addiction. You know, I came from a life of where, you know, you didn't ask for help. You did things on your own. Thankfully, I had a really caring mother who was always there for me and helped me get through a lot of this stuff.
No, that's a powerful point, right? You cannot do it by yourself, and that's incredible to understand that there are people who do say, when I'm ready, I'll do it, kind of thing, like, you know. But it's not just about you; it's about seeking help from the people around you, and we'll definitely touch into that in a few minutes here. Let me just start with where were you born and raised?
Born and raised in Vancouver.
Okay.
Not many of us. Everyone's very multicultural, but yeah.
Really?
I spent my life, most of it in the east side of Vancouver. Unfortunately, I moved around a lot as a kid.
Okay. Were your parents married?
Yes. Yeah. My mom was from Canada. I think her dad, my grandfather, was from the States, and my father originally was. Their family was Greek and Italian, so they moved here.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you're born in do you have any siblings?
One brother.
One brother. Older?
Yes.
Older brother. Okay. So you're in a stable house.
What I thought was normal. Yes.
What you thought was normal.
Yeah.
Okay. And what's school like for Nick growing up?
Oh, it was not fun. I guess I wasn't the kid that had the shiny shoes and the clothing that was cool at the time. So, you know, it wasn't the easiest. It was hard for me to concentrate a lot of the time. I needed to be engaged in something I enjoyed. Mm-hmm. If it was something I didn't find interest in, it was really difficult for me to stay focused. So. Okay. You know, teachers thinking that I was below level intelligence, and yeah, it was difficult in school.
Okay, I like you touched on that. I want to kind of like just touch on a little bit longer on that. Is this throughout elementary or throughout high school, when teachers are feeling like?
It was mostly elementary school, because I guess they didn't know how to engage me or dealing with kids who might have attention deficit disorder.
Yeah.
They didn't have as much knowledge and as much
Education.
ways to engage kids like that,
Fair enough.
Back when I was a kid, they were giving kids Prozac, and that was like how they solved the issues with that. I remember one time they put a paper seatbelt on me in class to try to keep me in my chair. And I thought it was pretty funny because I stood up and I tore off, and I told them that it didn't work that well. So I ended up having to go to get my IQ tested from a psychologist. And unfortunately I did really well, so I wasn't able to get away with playing dumb anymore in school. So
Wow.
yeah.
Before I continue, did you finish high school?
No, I did not.
What age did you drop out?
Well, I went to regular school, and then I think I made it to about grade 9, and then I ended up doing the rest
Okay.
at home.
At home?
Yeah, so like correspondence.
Okay.
Yeah, it was before I think the GED whole thing came out. So there was a school on the east side. You go, you pick up all your books and everything, and you had to do it all at home.
So I want to go back to elementary school a little bit, because I'm trying to figure out how teachers maybe could have helped, and then maybe how teachers today are helping, right? Like you said, more knowledge and more tools today. While you're in school and it appears like you're struggling, teachers are putting the seatbelts on you. Does a teacher ever go an extra length, from your understanding, to say, wow, she or he has gone above and beyond to try and help me?
I think that the teachers probably wanted to help. Like, you don't become a teacher, I think, because you don't like people.
Correct.
But I don't think that they had the tools to be able to cope with kids like me.
Okay.
It was probably easier to displace the problem and put me somewhere else than it was to truly try to reach kids like me.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned, maybe you did not mention exactly, but were you ever bullied?
Yes.
Bullied a lot. Tell me, do you seek help? Do you ask someone to intervene? Does your brother come in involved?
Thankfully, I had an older brother. Whenever I had troubles with older kids or bigger kids, and I wasn't able to figure it out on my own, I'd let my brother know. He would usually come with a couple of friends and visit the school, and I wouldn't have problems after that.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Okay. How old is it? Like, I mean, was it
22 months, but he's got a good foot taller than me and probably an extra 100 pounds.
So it was extra scary.
He's a big kid.
Okay. So you did, but what about teachers? Did you ever seek help from teachers? Like,
no, because it was hard enough for me to ask for help. Going to a stranger was very difficult. Even going, it was hard enough going to my mom for help, and that's the person I trusted more than anyone.
Wow.
So it's hard.
Is your dad involved in your life at this time?
Not very much.
Not very much.
No.
Okay, so they married and they divorced.
Yes.
How old were you when they separated?
8 or 9.
8 or 9. Oh, so you're kind of, you know what's going on-ish.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was still kind of confusing. I didn't know. My brother knew a lot more than,
right.
And I think he kind of sheltered me from it a little bit. But I knew there was a problem.
Were there any substance abuse in the house growing up?
I always remember there was a lot of drinking, mostly beer.
Okay.
But I remember there being like a rolly board underneath the couch, and my parents would sometimes smoke something that wasn't cigarettes. But that was pretty much the extent of. Yeah.
Okay. So Nick does go through this rough patch in school, a lot of bullying, hard to ask help from teachers, but you do let your brother know, and he does solve some few problems. When does Nick get involved in substances, or when do you get introduced to substances?
Well, I think I was about 12 or 13. The first time was drinking beer with my brother and some of his friends at a park in the east side of Vancouver, drinking. I probably drank 3 or 4, way too much for a kid. I ended up getting sick and crawling home. My brother was actually crawling home ahead of me, and I followed him. It was about 4 or 5 blocks crawling, and then snuck into our rooms and pretended to be asleep. Mom came to the door and asked if we were all right, and we said we were fine. And she asked if we were drinking, and we said no. But the very next day I was drinking again, so.
Wow.
Yeah.
At 13 years old, mom is asking questions, are you drinking? Why does she get this a hint or even assume you're drinking? Because you're 13 years old. Why? What gives her the hint?
Well, I bet you my brother was probably drinking before that.
Yeah.
So the fact that we were both together, I'm sure the room didn't smell so nice.
Okay, so that makes sense. But then you said you drank after that, the day after. Because in hindsight, when you look at it, it was automatically a problem from get-go.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, not many people drink to the point of getting sick and crawling home and then think it's a good idea to pick it up again.
Does this become a thing? Like now for you, drinking is no longer something out of the ordinary. It's okay to drink.
I kind of have more awareness about it.
Okay.
So let's say if I were to start drinking today again, it might be a couple drinks,
Right.
and then a week from now it'll be quite a few more, and then it basically just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger until it becomes out of control.
Right.
And I'm not 100% sure if drinking will lead to substance use again, but I don't really want to take that chance.
But at 13, drinking did lead to substances.
Yes.
What age and when did you pick up something else other than alcohol?
I think I was smoking marijuana probably at 13 or 14. I was using cocaine in probably about grade 8, so 14, 15.
Wow.
And then mushrooms, LSD, ecstasy. And then there was a very long time where cocaine and alcohol was prevalent in my life, and that's when I was working, when I was becoming an adult.
Okay. I want to understand, at 14 years old, you're using cocaine. But cocaine, as I understand, is expensive.
It is.
How are you getting the money?
My friend took it from his mother, who was a gangster. And she had lots of cocaine around, and she didn't, I guess, notice that he was taking it.
Right. And I guess you're young, so not using too much, but you're using
Not
some.
a huge amount, like
Yeah.
usually breaking some up, mixing it with marijuana and smoking it.
Okay. How long does this go on for you guys to start saying, do you know what, now I want to get my own?
I think once I started working and I had an income of my own, is when I could purchase whatever I wanted.
Correct. How old were you?
When I first started purchasing my own drugs, I think the first job I had was working at McDonald's. I was 16 years old.
Really?
And I used to buy booze and drugs just from older kids in the neighborhood. It was really easy to get.
Does using affect your ability to work? Are you showing up at work and your manager's like, you're kind of off today?
If I had drank a bunch the night before and used a bunch of drugs, then yeah, usually it was really difficult. Lack of sleep, feeling hungover, probably dehydrated. All these things make for a next day at work not an unpleasant experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you get suspended? Do you get fired? Or you're able to function while you're...
I was a fairly high functioning
Okay.
addict. I was able to cope. I was really good at telling people I was okay when I wasn't. I could smile while I was dying inside.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. I think a lot of addicts are good at becoming chameleons. We learn how to wear masks, and we can pick whichever mask works for whatever situation.
Crazy powerful. That's interesting. You mask it, and I'm okay. Everyone sees the okay part. Is that well trained from the young age of going to school, being bullied, but you're trying to still fit in?
I think I learned how to be the false me from a very early age, to protect myself from bullies, to guard myself from bad situations, and to continue using and have it not known by the people around me.
Yeah. So you're working, you're high functioning, you're able to keep a job. Do you at any point between, I guess, because you're 16, you now have a job and you're now buying, right? Does it ever get to a point where you're like, wow, I'm losing too much money, I'm not saving anything?
No. Like most people, I guess, that are working class, the idea of saving is not something a lot of people can do. It wasn't until much older in my life, in the last 5-6 years, that I've learned how much I can afford to use to live comfortably and be able to actually save money. But most people live paycheck to paycheck. Literally, probably over half of our population is 1 or 2 paychecks away from being homeless.
Oh my gosh.
So saving money is not something most people can do when they're just scratching and surviving, trying to feed their kids.
Are you living at home at 16, 17?
Yes.
You are?
Yeah.
Do you get kicked out at any point, or do you leave at any point?
I left at 17.
At 17?
Yes.
So you tell your mom I'm moving out?
Yeah,
To
my
live
brother
with
moved out before me. I guess he couldn't hack it. He moved back, and then I used that opportunity to move out because I didn't want to leave my mom alone. So.
When your brother came back?
Yes.
Okay. So you do want to, I love how you just say that, because I didn't want to leave my mom. You have a deep love for your mom.
Very.
Very. Do you ever see using as a way of, oh man, I'm disappointing my mom? Or does that side of the world is completely separate from your other side of the world?
My mom felt that if I was going to use alcohol or marijuana, anything harder than that she'd rather me use at home with her.
Wow.
Not necessarily with her, but
Watching
in her
you.
presence, because she figured that I'd be safer at home than who knows where with who knows who using. So
That's
it's an interesting way of parenting.
it's an interesting way of parenting, but a brave one, which is tough, I'm sure, for her. But I would rather be here to, if anything happens, I'm there for you.
Yes.
While other parents probably kick you out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
So it's interesting. There's the good side of it, and there's definitely the bad side of it. But she's literally a mother. So I don't want you to die out there. That's incredible.
yeah.
I wanted to ask, I want to stick around the age of below 20 for now, right? You decide to move out, and your mom knows you're using at this time.
Yes.
How does she feel? Like, man, my son is going out now. He's leaving the house, right? How does she feel? What's the relationship like? Does it get strained? Do you get closer?
No, our relationship gets better, like most
Yeah.
kids do when they move out of their family's house. But I'm sure she was probably worried about me. I imagine that if I had a child and I knew they were on their own and they were using, and that I'd be terrified.
Yeah.
So I'm sure she cared for me immensely. So I'm sure she was worried.
You move out. Who are you living with?
Most kids my age moving in with a bunch of friends.
Yeah.
It's the only way you can afford renting a whole house, right?
Okay.
Usually like 5 or 6 friends.
And you guys all have your random jobs,
Yeah.
and you still get together and party.
Yes.
Right.
Very much party houses.
Really.
Yeah.
At what point do you start getting involved in buying and selling at the same time?
That would be much later 20s.
Much later 20s.
But yeah, there was about five or 6 years
Okay.
where I was.
Why I'm asking that is I'm wondering if you're living with your friends and how are you guys affording the using and the rent?
Usually having a regular job and then doing some crime on the side is usually the way most people do. But yeah, a lot of things go by the wayside. Your diet,
Right.
you know, kids living off of Kraft Dinner and Mr. Noodles because they're spending all their money on rent and partying. So.
Do you ever lose any friends to jail time, whatever, in this house, or are you guys all just still able to remain under the radar?
We were all underneath the radar.
Right.
Yeah, I tried to not hang around with anyone gang affiliated or because it's a scary way of living, and I've seen, you know, how people can go to jail and people can get hurt being in that sort of circle. So I tried to stick with people that were nonviolent.
Right, okay.
But still like to have a good time.
Just playing right on the right.
Yes, right on the edge.
I want to know, because your mom at first was a nurse,
Yes.
right? Did you ever look up to that? Like, wow, I want to have a good job like my mom.
I think back then I really wasn't even thinking about careers.
Okay.
Yeah, like most kids, I was, you know, climbing trees and riding my bike around and not doing my homework.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So your mom is a nurse for a while, then she quits being a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
Does that impact you in any way or no?
I think financially it probably impacted the family
Okay.
because she went into cooking professionally, and cooks don't get paid that well compared to what a nurse makes.
Correct.
So I think in hindsight I can understand that, but at the time I didn't.
Okay. And you said you did not start getting into selling as well in your late 20s.
Mm-hmm.
What happens, at what point do you say that I can sell and make money?
Yeah, well, I just knew some people that were in the business, and I saw they were driving around in nice cars, and you know, they were always at parties, and selling drugs seemed really easy. You know, you just hang out somewhere and everyone wants to buy what you're selling. So it seemed attractive.
And this is coming from a child who didn't grow up with a lot as well.
Yes.
So it does become even more attractive to get this money.
Very much so.
Do you get caught up in that? Does your mom get a hint, or does she just think, well, my son is using and working?
It was shortly after she died was when I started getting more into crime.
Into crime?
Yes.
Really, eh? When I was talking to you earlier, we spoke about the death of your mother.
Yes.
And how it impacted you personally. As comfortable as you are willing to share, can we just walk down the path that leads to your mom passing? Because you're using substances. Your mom knows you're using, but at this time your mom was also using.
Yes.
Prior, while your mom is a nurse, was she ever using or no? To your best knowledge?
To my best knowledge, I think she was probably drinking and using marijuana, maybe mushrooms and LSD.
Yeah.
But as far as I know, she wasn't using cocaine or crack or heroin at that time.
Okay. When did she start using, from what you understand? I think it started getting really bad when my mom's boyfriend at the time
ended up getting his retirement package. We moved to one of the Gulf Islands, and my mom wanted to start a business there, and it didn't work out the way she envisioned it, and the drug use really amped up at that point. So there was a lot of using behind closed doors. Being from a life of knowing people that do use and using myself, it was easy for me to know that something was happening. And then it didn't take long until I was wanting to be a part of what was going on behind those closed doors.
Wow.
Yeah.
And is that around the time when you got introduced to heroin?
Yes.
That was around that time. And your mom is now using heroin too?
Yes.
Is your brother using heroin or no?
Yes.
He is as well?
Yeah, the whole family.
The whole family.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want to talk about the experience of now you're using with your mom and your brother at the same time. We're going to take a 2-minute quick break, and then we're going to touch on that.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay, welcome back, guys. Thank you for joining us again. So, Nick, we were talking about a point when heroin does get introduced to you and your family, right? You started using heroin and your mom and your brother at the same time. I'm just wondering, how is this? Because at first, I think I understand your mom's side, because if you're using, she'd rather you be there. And I'm sure from her side, if she uses, she would rather be by her family. So I can kind of see that. But how is your relationship like? Does it get strained? Because I know you're using together, but deep down, does it get strained?
Yes, it gets very strained. So much so that, once we moved back from the island back into the city of Vancouver, things start to unravel. Money becomes harder. Housing, it becomes difficult. There's a time of homelessness that our family deals with. Displacement of my mom going one place and my mom's boyfriend going somewhere else, my brother going somewhere else, and then so the family eventually splits up. I still see my mother, but it is very strained. The last time I saw her was we were using together, and she wanted more, and I had to go. I didn't want to spend any more money, and she got upset at me, and I left. And then the next time I chatted with her was her saying she was sorry over social media, and then me saying, I'm sorry as well. And then there was nothing for a while, and then I got a phone call from one of my cousins that my mom had passed away.
It's my understanding it was from overdose.
Yes. Yeah.
From the heroin. Mm-hmm. So your mom is messaging you, maybe understanding what is going on within your system. And you're messaging back, not quite sure why she's saying sorry, but as a sign of love, you went back.
She didn't want us to be apart. She didn't want to be a rift in between our relationship, because we were always very, very close. But she had issues, health issues. It's very rarely people die of actual drug use. It's usually the side effects of when she used, she had a hard time breathing. And it's one of the reasons why I was always, when she was using, I'd want to be with her, because I could wake her up when she would stop breathing. But without anyone there, apparently she was found on her back with vomit on her. So most likely what happened is that she got sick and she was asleep and couldn't wake up, and she asphyxiated on her vomit, and that's what took her out. But yeah.
And you said after she messaged you, you messaged back.
Yes.
And then you went to check if she received the message.
Yeah, I figured out how to get into her social media account and found out that the message hadn't been opened. And it was really difficult to know that after the argument that we had and the time that I didn't see her, that the one time that I let her know that it was okay, that she didn't get to read that. It really hurt.
Yeah. Okay, tell me, how's your brother doing at this time?
Oh, I kind of cut my brother out of my life because it was one of the times I was trying to get my life back in order. One of the 3 times that I built my life up just to burn it back down again. But I knew that I couldn't have people in my life that were using, because it's hard enough to not use yourself, let alone be surrounded with people that you care about that are using in front of you. So it was difficult not having a mother anymore, father not being existent, and having to cut your brother out of your life just to keep yourself safe.
I remember you told me you tried recovery 3 times.
Yes.
By the time your mom passed away, had you tried recovery?
I've tried to stop using.
Okay.
I didn't know what recovery was. I didn't know that there was like AA or NA meetings, treatment centers, recovery houses. Any of the things I know about today, I had no idea. I thought when you quit, you stopped using.
Right. Yeah.
And you use something called willpower to be able to stop. And going cold turkey, it works for a little while, for me, for a little while. And then usually it's just, everything's going well, and you think that when an opportunity arises that it's going to be different. So you pick up again. And then unfortunately, every time that you stop and you start again, you kind of start right where you left off.
Wow.
So every time that I quit and started again, it was becoming worse and worse every time.
Right. So if you were doing 2 joints a day, the next time you don't start from 1. If you're doing 5 points a day, you don't start from 1, you start from 5 again.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. There's a time that you spoke about after you quit, and again, willpower, which is actually incredible. I appreciate you saying that it's important to seek help and stuff, but you also talk about the downside of trying to do it by yourself. Mm-hmm. And I think this is well exemplified when you spoke about one day coming from work and then someone offered you to buy.
Yes.
Yeah. Tell me about, was that your first time trying to recover?
That was my last time.
That was your last time, right?
That was the last time.
The last time you relapsed. Yeah. Walk me through that.
I was working at a local business. I was enjoying working there. Mm-hmm. I was living with my cousins. I, was co-owner of a vehicle. I think I was just finished getting it washed. I was gassing it up. Everything was going great. So I thought. And then some guy standing at the gas station asked if I wanted to buy drugs. And it was a no-brainer. It was automatic yes. And I asked him what he had, and he said crack and heroin. I literally walked across the street to my bank, and I pulled out, I think, about $180, $200. And I bought a bunch of crack and heroin. It was just that simple.
Why does it target you? Why? I mean, maybe ask everyone, I guess, but
yeah, because it's something that is always there. Mm-hmm. It's something when you use, everything else just disappears. All your worries, all your problems. it's like the most worst coping mechanism anyone can ever use to help themselves.
So at this time, you had not received any counseling regarding your mom passing away?
Nothing.
Even your childhood, nothing?
No. I was really good at stuffing everything down and pretending it wasn't there.
Right. Yeah. Now, when offered drugs, it's easier to say yes.
Yes.
Because no one has taught you how to say no.
Exactly.
Wow. Before we continue talking about your recovery, I do want to talk about just briefly the life of selling now, because you said you got introduced to selling. How does that or maybe just walk me through the story itself, because there's a little bit of someone once said, life of addiction does come with life of crime in a way, because once you start selling, you're already involved in a criminal activity. How long does that path last? You get involved in selling. How long does that last until you realize, like, wow, I need to slow down and just put my life straight?
Well, at the beginning, it's great. You're making lots of money. You're meeting a lot of people.
Yeah.
You're going to a lot of parties, and money's never an issue. You got pockets full of it all the time. But it's slow, and it gets its claws into you, and then once you realize that they're sunk into your flesh, it's impossible to pull away.
Right.
People call it trapping.
Correct.
And it's true, because you get trapped. The money traps you. The lifestyle traps you.
Coming out becomes difficult.
Yeah. Compared to like working a regular job again, never seems like something you'd want to do. Like,
wow,
bust my butt to get taxed heavily, or sell dope and never get taxed again.
You become trapped in trapping.
Yes. Yeah. My use also ramped up. So over the 5 or 6 years I was doing it, going from using lots of cocaine while working to eating Percocet to kind of be able to go to sleep at night and to be stable while you're working. Goes from like 2 to 4 all the way up to 10 at a time. Which is like almost like chewing a stick of chalk, eating that many pills at one time. I just used to chew them and swallow it back with some coffee or water. And then I was doing Oxycontin, because I couldn't find Percocet anymore, and using like three or four of the Oxy 80s, which are very powerful. And then once those couldn't be found anymore, smoking heroin.
Wow.
Yeah, I pretty much spent probably about a solid 5 years of my life never not being high. I'd wake up, I would use the entirety of the day, and I would use right before I went to sleep.
5 years?
5 years.
In those 5 years, do you ever overdose?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
So you balance it well.
I got out of the game just as fentanyl was coming onto the market. I dodged a big bullet.
That's right.
Because I used alone.
Really?
And I used quite a bit. So, if I decided to work for another year or prolong this game for another year, I probably wouldn't be here right now talking to you.
Absolutely. Do you ever experience any symptoms of psychosis while using drugs?
Oh, I'm sure at the time when you're in it, it's hard to see. But I'm sure if I was able to see myself at some of these times, that I'm sure it would be noticeable.
Right.
I spent my weekends sometimes just locked in my apartment with mountains of drugs.
Do you ever experience suicidal ideations?
Yes. I think for the last 2 years that I was working in that business, that the late night introspective nightmares, where you think about all the bad stuff you've done and all the people you've hurt and all the bad decisions you've made, and the feeling of hopelessness that there's nothing you can do to get out of it, that you're not strong enough to do what needs to be done, and the only alternative is punching your ticket.
Wow.
And I thought about it almost every night.
Especially after your mother passed away.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you successfully not carry on the mission? What keeps you strong? How do you manage?
I think truly it's just because I was too much of a coward to kill myself.
Wow.
Yeah. So I just chose life because no matter how much I thought about killing myself, I don't feel like I would ever be able to go through it, which probably also saved my life.
There we go. I really want to touch on your road to recovery, because there's a powerful story in there. I will never forget that. Maybe let's just start saying the last time you seek recovery, when was this? Because now you're sober, but when was this and how was it?
Well, the first time that I truly asked for help was from my brother. I didn't know what to do. I was pretty close to becoming homeless again. And I had no choice. And I knew that if I became homeless again, that I don't know if I could get through it.
Yeah.
So the alternative was to ask for help. So I asked my brother, what should I do? He had gone through a program at a recovery society. He called the director, and the next day I was brought there. And it was real hard. I was dragging my heels. And I walked up the stairs, and the director and the manager were both standing there. And he asked me what I was willing to do for my recovery, and I told him at that point, and I believed it 100%, that I was willing to do anything it would take to get through this, because I was tired. Wow. 21 years leading up to walking up those stairs is exhausting.
Wow. Okay. You say you were willing to do anything. They let you in?
Yes. Yeah.
How long do you spend in there?
The first 3 days was just me sleeping. In entirety, I spent 16 months there.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a hard beginning. I ended up buying some methadone from a dealer friend, and then I used that to taper off in, I think, 4 days. And then I spent the next 3 days after that sleeping. And then I guess, it's the first day that I was truly sober. And it was really scary. Yeah. I was in a place I didn't want to be, surrounded by people I didn't know, having to make decisions that I didn't want to deal with. And, every part of me knew that I needed to do this.
Yeah.
But every ounce of me wanted to run.
Wow. Do you ever go to a treatment center?
I was thinking about it. There's quite a few that I was interested in. Unfortunately, wait lists,
Yeah.
and some just the cost of make them very difficult for people to be able to get into.
It's a powerful and incredible point. Wait lists.
Yeah, there's not enough treatment centers.
Right.
No.
I think that's just like a message that is reoccurring in this show. There's a wait list here, there's a wait list there, and it's incredible that we are grateful for the treatment centers that are there right
Yes.
now. It's just that
We wish they were smaller.
we just wish they were small, right?
Yeah.
But hopefully more will come, right? But it's a good point. I appreciate you bringing that up. So how do you manage? How do you get counseling? Do you ever seek counseling? What
Yes.
happens in your recovery process now?
At this point, I'm literally willing to do anything. So, counseling, reading books, self-help, reading books about religion to find out what makes all these things tick. Why do they work for people? And the one thing that connected them all was people caring for people, people loving each other. So that turned to be something that I could believe in. Just people caring about each other. And then just move forward from that. It was kind of like it became its own entity. It was evolving and just by taking little bits from everywhere. There's lots of stuff out there for people to try.
Correct.
And I literally would be willing to try and had tried everything.
And that's what you meant when you said I'm willing to try everything, even as far as reading books, ABCDs. Because were you ever a reader before?
Well, entertainment,
right?
But not for like
self-help.
For self-help and to like change who I am.
So now you're literally taking this step, like, you know what? Let me get help here. Let me get help here. Let me go to these different kind of programs.
Yeah, it was kind of like baking a cake that you didn't know what the recipe was. So you had to find all the ingredients and figure out how to make this cake. So.
And I really hope for one person who's listening and wanting to seek to recover, really, it's a case of do go and do ABCD rather than saying someone come and help me.
Yeah, you don't know what's going to work until you try it. And it's important to try everything.
And we said about love, and there was a quote that you told me before.
About the old lady?
Yes, but before you say that, what stuck to that? There was a quote about love and helping someone.
Yeah, there's a book I was reading. It's like a 2,000-year-old Asian philosopher. I think that's called like the Tao Te Ching.
Okay.
Anyways, there was a quote.
Someone will tell us the name of the book.
Yeah.
soon enough.
Anyways, there was a quote in the book that said, "Never miss an opportunity to help somebody."
Never miss an opportunity
to help somebody.
To help someone.
Yeah. I was on the bus when I was reading the book, and my bus stop was coming up, so I just put the bookmark in there, and I got up, and this older Asian lady asked me if this is where we got off the bus, and I said, unless you want to keep driving around in circles, that this is where you'd get off. And she laughed and she said that I was making fun of her, and I was, and it shamed me because I felt that this lady's just asking me a question and I'm being an asshole. So we get off the bus together. And I ask her where she's going. She really doesn't know. So I said SkyTrain, and she said yes. And so I showed her where the SkyTrain was. We walked there together. I showed her how to validate her ticket. We walked up. I figured out that she wanted to go to a certain station, so I knew which train she would need to go on, and I let her know how many stops until she needed to get off. Anyway, she was walking onto the train and she stopped and she turned around and looked at me, and she was like tearing a little bit in her eyes, and she hugged me. And literally, like, I just finished reading that, Never Miss an Opportunity, and it's like a light bulb went off. And I spent literally like 5-7 minutes of my life, and just for that little amount of time that I spent helping someone, that it created this emotional response. And I was literally, at that point, I was hooked, and I knew that this is something I needed to do more of.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I can just imagine that.
It was an eye-opening experience for me.
Wow. And she came back and hugged you.
Yeah.
Thank you for changing from this to this.
Yeah.
Okay, so this happens. You get to understand the deep meaning behind, truly never miss an opportunity to help someone. How do you use this in the rest of your recovery?
People need directions. If they look like they're lost, ask them if they need help. Opening doors for people. You know, just being there to listen to someone if they're crying. Like if someone's lying down the street, you help them up. Truly just treating others the way you want to be treated. Like everyone learns this in school, but like how many of us are actually using it in our daily lives? And it changed who I was forever. And like I sought out opportunities to help people whenever I could, so much so that I started thinking about going to school to become a social worker. And like I was going to this program that can help you get funding in Surrey, and I found out that they wouldn't necessarily be able to help me the way I needed to get in the school I wanted to. But I ended up getting hired working for helping house vulnerable youth. And that got me right into, I guess, the beat that I wanted to hear in my life. And it was helping kids that were, you know, struggling the way I was struggling when I was a kid. And that was great. And I enjoyed it. And you know, it evolved into working for a company that helped homeless people and people in active addiction.
Yeah.
You know, harm reduction, totally new to me. Didn't know what it was. You know, thought it was just, you know, giving people clean rigs and stuff. But like harm reduction's like making sure people are eating food and like making sure they have clean clothes, making sure that someone cares about them. Like it's like harm reduction's like just being a human being to another human being. And I found out that I was good at it. I found out that my personality is meant to help people, and that's what I still do today. And thankfully, I found a job where I get paid to like hang out with people and talk about my experiences, just like we're talking about today. Have a cup of coffee, and just try to help people through the stuff that's happened to me, and use that as a strength to help somebody else. And it's all through love.
My gosh. You have no idea how insightful that is. We're going to end on a good note. The whole thing was good. But I know you're engaged now.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Very excited.
I know your fiance is here watching. It's amazing. I am excited and hopefully to follow up with you in the future coming.
I would be honored.
Right? And then we can come back here, talk about how your life is going after marriage.
Yes.
After you're in recovery. I mean, it's always going to be recovery, right? You're always going to be clean. So, you know, how is it going? What other teaching points can we use?
Any way I can be of help.
Like, I am excited. Well, Nick, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you again.